Welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us again on Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. Hello, everyone. Feel the vibes, feel the love, feel the peace that we're trying to bring to the community, to the state, to the US, to the Caribbean, to the world. The world needs peace, the world needs love, the world needs good vibes, right? We also want to recognize Happy Easter, and we'll go through the other religions actually later in the show. You know, tonight we've got a very, very important topic to discuss. We don't want to be in fear. We don't want to be anxious, because those are never good emotions to be feeling, right? But so tonight we're trying to get clarity on this new, just upcoming bill that it just came out of nowhere, really. And so we've got a lot of answers, so a lot of questions for tonight's guest. So we want to welcome you. We are so thankful that, Attorney Michelle Fanger of the Fanger Law Firm could join us this evening. We really appreciate taking time out of the busy schedule, all of our community partners, educational partners that just step up when we need them. We give thanks and praise for that. We give thanks and praise for this forum and the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we're able to offer the community. With that said, my name is Donna Morgan, and I am the host and president of Caribbean American Diaspora Alliance, president of Women of Culture Incorporated, real estate broker of Florida Summer Homes Realty, and life coach at Inner Vibes Consultant. So we are going to jump in. We've got some of our co-hosts that are going to be jumping on. Everybody's got a busy schedule today, Easter weekend, etc. So we're going to jump into tonight's topic: immigration news, the Florida anti-illegal immigration bill. And please, Attorney Fanger, please us a little update on this. Where did it come from and what's going on here that we all need to be aware of?
Okay, hi, let me do the introduction about myself. As you know, as Ms. Donna stated, I do have my own practice, a Fanger law firm. I've been practicing over 10 years. My background is that I started working with nonprofit organizations like the Florida Coastal Immigrant Rights Clinic and the Jacksonville Area Legal Aid and Free Legal Refers. And those organizations provide assistance to individuals who are not able to afford certain legal services, especially immigrants. So when I got asked to provide my insight on this new bill, I quickly accepted, because I always think it's important to filter information to our community so that community members are aware. So if they hear, they could tell their friends and family. So because knowledge is very important, because if you don't know the law, ignorance is no excuse. You don't want to get caught up in what's happening. And this was one of the major things that I see passing through our legislative system for Florida that has gone under the radar. And I think it's very important. And the information provided, I always do this where I say that I'm not your legal representative. I'm just providing the information. It's just general information. If you want to know specific information, my information will be provided at the end, and you could call and ask. But this information is just information. I heard a ding ding for the community. And so this law is going as it should. A lot of people are not aware of it, and that's why it's a major concern for me, because it has a lot of major impact on our community. Yes. So it's called the Florida illegal immigration bill. Today, I'm not trying to ring a big alarm and get everybody scared. You know, usually people get in a frenzy when they hear this information, but it is there. That's a fact. It is before the Senate and it's moving full speed ahead. So it's good to provide the information because pretending it doesn't exist does not mean it's gonna go away. Bear with me as I move the slide. Okay, so as you see, it's called Senate Bill 1718. There are several bills. So what they've been trying to do is make amendments to these bills. So when it gets to the final stage, it is how they want it to be with the laws that they're proposing. And as you see, this bill was introduced March 7th, 2023, this year, March 7th. So it's recent, a couple weeks ago. And it was introduced by Senator Ingolia. I hope I pronounce it, Lacey Ingolia. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. He's a Republican. And he's introduced this bill and it's moving as it should. It's gone through various committees. That's before a bill get enacted. It goes through various committees where it's vetted. People provide their feedback and they make changes, as I said earlier. So basically, it has been moving along smoothly because the vote is favorable to these proposed changes in the law or amendments to some of the laws that already existed. So the last I saw, it was 15 voted yay, 3 voted nay. And if it is going smoothly along, and if it's approved, it has to be signed off, but if it's approved, it will more than likely go into effect July 1st, 2023. So you have to keep your ears and eyes open to see if it's going to go into full effect. And tell your family, friends, or your neighbors who are immigrants, because it's impact not only from the Caribbean, but individuals from all over the world who are here without legal status. I don't like to call people illegal, but for those who are here without status. So it's important to listen to the information. I reviewed the bill, and this is just my understanding and interpretation of it. And if you want additional information and clarity, you could always go on the Florida Senate website where they provide all the bills where you can look at the various committees. You can look at your representatives who are the one voting or against and what corrections they're making to these bills. So what is the main purpose of the bill? So based on the representative that is pushing this bill forward, one of the main objectives is to curb illegal migration. So as you know, they'll say that we're having a lot of issues at the border. We have a lot of influx of immigrants coming through, whether from Honduras, Venezuela, Jamaica, all over the world. They're coming through the border at Mexico. And they believe that nothing is being done effectively to curb this migration that is causing a burden on the US government or the government and resources that are to be provided to those who are here legally. And so to them, this will help to curb it. So they believe the federal government is not doing enough. So they're taking it to the state, and Florida wants to be the one at the forefront to say, you know what, we can solve this problem that we're having in the United States. So let's start with Florida first. Florida be the guinea pig, and then we'll expand this to other states. So hopefully other states will adopt what we are doing. So it's just to protect our border, as I said. And also another thing they want to do is to put an end to human trafficking, because that's one of the major things, as we know, where people are being trafficked throughout Florida, throughout the United States. So this bill is also intended to stop human trafficking. So this is what they're stating, that this is the intent of the bill. And this is why they're pushing this forward, to help with these issues that the US is facing. So breakdown of the bill and what it means. And this is why it's important, because when we have individuals going forward to represent us, oftentimes, not going on a tangent, oftentimes when we have local elections, these are issues that are put forward that are important to our community. But oftentimes a lot of people don't go out and vote because they believe the presidential election is more important. But as you see, these local elections where it impacts our communities directly, whether it's education, as you see, immigration, you have these things, and it's important to have people that represent your community and issues that your community face. And you might think, all right, I'm okay, I'm legal. What's the issue? But then you have to say, you might have a cousin, grandmother, aunt, or maybe your mother came here illegally, and you're able to get your legal status here, but you have to be a voice for them. So that's why it's important. So that was my tangent. Important to have your voice heard. So what the breakdown of the bill, one of the main issues that I see is that certain driver's license and permits issued by other states exclusively to unauthorized immigrants are not valid in Florida. So this is what they're saying. If you go and you get a driver's license in New York, or whichever other state allows you to get a driver's license, you cannot use that driver's license in Florida. It is illegal to use it. So it's not valid here in Florida. And require law enforcement officers and authorized representatives of the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles to cite a person driving with a specified invalid license. And one thing people should remember, in Florida, I'm not sure if people recall years ago, like a lot of the officers were deputized, meaning they're able to act as ICE agent, immigration officers. So they could check your status, your legal status, and all these things, and put you in deportation proceedings. Some of the jails have immigration enforcement centers where once you go in, they check your status, see what your status is, and then they could push you in deportation proceeding. Some states, as you know, they don't really bother you. Like if it's nothing major, they don't really look at your immigration status or try to take action because they're more looking forward for hardened criminals, like those who commit major crimes, to deport them. But Florida is one of those states, so you don't know. So what they're saying is that they're requiring officers to look at these, your driver's license, review them, and cite you for driving. So you cannot come here and say, oh, my license is valid. Florida doesn't consider it if you got it and you don't have the legal status. So Florida have their own standards. So that's one of the major things, because we do know a lot of people who go to other states and say they're able to get it. Or sometimes people come here, they're visiting, like their driver's license valid for a period like 6 months. If you come into the country, but you haven't overstayed, your driver's license is valid. Sometimes officers will give you a blight, but no, they're saying they need to enforce these laws because those licenses are not valid. And if you know, if you go to get your license, no, you know that they do check your status and you see a little star on the driver's license. That stars tell your status. If you're going to the immigration process and you get a conditional temporary document, it's notated that, all right, you have a temporary status for 2 years or however long. So this is where they monitor you to see your status. So this is one of the things they're pointing out. Another thing is that they are prohibiting counties, municipalities from providing fundings to any person, entity, or organization to issue identification documents to an individual who doesn't provide proof of lawful permanent residence in the United States. So you have to, as I said, provide proof of your legal status. I remember like a few weeks ago, I had a client of mine say to me that they're able to get a driver's license from the Department of Motor Vehicles by showing a receipt. Like they haven't gotten their status legalized, but they're able to show a receipt and they're able to get a driver's license. I'm not sure under what category they could, but I always say, you should listen to your attorney. You don't want to get yourself in trouble because people will tell you that they could do this for you. You pay your money and it cannot be done. So as it's clear, you have to have some form of legal status to prove in order to get an identification. So if you know you don't have legal status, you don't fall under any category. If you hear from somebody, definitely go out, reach out to an attorney. If they don't know off the top of their head, they look into it to ensure that you're doing the right thing, because you don't want to end up into a situation that puts you into deportation. And that's what you're trying to avoid while you're trying to get your legal status. The other thing is that the bill requires that certain hospitals to collect patient immigration status data, information on admission or registration forms. And it requires a hospital to submit the quarterly reports to the agencies and containing the specific information, and they're authorizing the agency to adopt the rules. So what this means is that if you go to the hospital for any situation, emergency, non-emergency, they are required to ask you your immigration status. They have stated that this is just to collect data to see how funding are provided to illegal immigrants. But another part of the bill states that agencies like churches, government agencies should not be providing any funding to individuals without status. So it kind of sad because it means that if you don't have status, you fear going to get medical assistance because you fear, all right, I go get this assistance, possibly I'll be placed in deportation. So it's going to push a lot of people back into the shadows. But to me, to the hospitals, it's like their hands are restricted because yes, doctors have a duty to provide service, but then they're looking at it. Do I want to lose my funding to provide you with care? So it's either me or you, which later on I'll talk about how they'll be penalized. And I'm sure they don't want to be penalized. You don't want to lose your license at the hospital. You don't want to have issues with any organization, administrative organization that will assist you to run your hospital or your primary care or, churches, how they run their business. So they're saying that they're requiring this information for the government to see how much funding they are providing, but they still have to be mindful of what they're asking when you go forward to get any medical assistance. So one of the things that, as you see, that the bill, they're trying to move it forward, but they're trying to create a hindrance, because the issue is that with this bill, it's saying that you knowingly assist individuals, because one of the things I didn't mention earlier is that you shouldn't be transporting any illegal immigrants in whether it's a commercial vehicle or your private vehicle. You're not supposed to. So this is what they're proposing. You shouldn't be harboring anybody that does not have legal status. So it is the knowing. They're saying you have to have known that the individual does not have legal status. But the assumption to me, my understanding is if you are in my care, I should know that you don't have legal status. It's going to be hard for me to say to them, I did not know John did not have legal status, although he's in my car, I'm driving him around. Unless it's a cab service, things like that. But again, that's another set that will force people in the shadows, and it will force family members and friends to be like, I don't want to be in trouble with law enforcement and be punished in Florida for having you visit me and I don't know your status or your legal status. Another thing is that you could just have friends coming over or family, and your neighbor will just say, you know what, I think Mary is illegal. Let me just call the cops to go check it out. They come to your house to ask Mary, what is your status? Mary has no proof of her status. And then not only Mary gets into trouble, but those individuals who own the property, own the home, who have Mary at the home. So it goes beyond just, so now the punishment is not only for the person who doesn't have legal status, but for those who have individuals without legal status in their custody, meaning their homes. And also if you're employing individuals without legal status, that is an issue. They know by creating this law, it will cause problems because, you know, a lot of industries such as agriculture rely on people with immigrant status issues mostly to work in these industries. But in my opinion, Florida is saying like, we're willing to suffer this loss to business because we want to curb and protect our borders from illegal immigration and human trafficking. So they've waited because they know like agriculture, more than likely house cleaning, you know, like you only have certain, the construction industry mostly hire people without, my understanding, oftentimes they're in the process of getting their status. So this is an issue. So one of the punishment that they're saying, and this is to hinder individuals from harboring people without legal status, and it's also to prevent people without legal status from coming into Florida because they will understand that they will not be protected and that the government will go hard on individuals coming here without legal status. And once that is accomplished, to the rest of the United States, like other states like Texas, and I don't know which other states, will look at it and say, you know what, Florida did it. Florida control this issue we're having with immigration, because we want them to figure out a way to make it legalize, the government, the federal government, and they're not doing it. So this is what we'll do. So what they've proposed is that they'll increase the maximum fine. The fine can go up to 5 years. So they're increasing the maximum fine for first-time violation of specific provisions relating to employing, hiring, recruiting, or referring aliens for private or public employment. So this is why, which has already been in place, why you have to check the legal status of individuals or anyone you're hiring, where they provide their information. You have to do your due diligence. Oftentimes you could do your due diligence and, you know, with scamming, whatever, you're still, people know how to work the system. So that's what they're looking at. And they provide a fine for second or subsequent violations of specific provisions after a certain previous conviction relating to employing, hiring, recruiting, or referring aliens for private or public employment. And also provides criminal penalties. Criminal, see, not only just like little fines, but criminal where you could serve time in prison for certain aliens who knowingly use false identification documents or who fraudulently use identification documents of another person for the purpose of obtaining employment. So all these things are being put forward in this bill. As I stated before, it has been moving as it should. It's moving quickly because it started March. They're already like near the final stage to get it on the floor to get the vote where this will be implemented. And it's important to understand that, yes, it will be more than likely, unless some miracle happens, be implemented. So it's important to take steps to protect yourself. If you're able to get legalized status, a lot of people are entitled to benefits and are aware of, definitely go out, speak to an attorney, try to figure out what benefits there are for you and what can be done. As one of the major things that they're trying to prevent is human trafficking. The government understands that human trafficking is an issue. So they do have a specific category of immigration benefits for individuals who are a victim of human trafficking. Human trafficking doesn't have to be only sexual, but it can be labor. Labor meaning that you are invited here to the United States to stay with a family member and they have you working, no pay, or, like horrible conditions, you're entitled to relief. Or you're working for an employer who has you working ridiculous hours, underpayment, so you're entitled to that relief. And also for those who are sex traffic victims who are being transported from state to state or area to area, you are entitled to immigration benefits. So even though they have these things pushing, they still have benefits for individuals who are going through the immigration process and have entitlement to relief. Another thing is that if you're a victim of a crime, and you assist law enforcement with solving that crime, then you are entitled to a form of leave. And so these are things that can be done for you. And I know it's going to cause a lot of people to be in a frenzy as to what next for them in Florida and to find out what can be done. But at this point, if it goes into effect, there's not much that we could do. And I try to touch on the most important aspect that will directly impact our community, because I know a lot of people, one of the major things they try to do, especially in Florida, is to try to get some form of driver's license so they're able to drive. That's how you move around. A lot of people do take public transportation. And a lot of people, you're sick, you try to get medical assistance, and these are things to look at. So nothing is in place right now. As I said, it's more than likely will be in July, but you have to keep your ears, eyes open as to what's happening. And at this point, if you have any questions.
Yes, thank you for sharing your screen, because that just really helps people that, we can go back and just reread this information. All right, so let's stop sharing and then we'll jump back into and see who has questions that's on the forum. There you go. Wow. So we're saying that their objective is to curb illegal immigration, to protect the border and human trafficking. Sounds very wholesome, right?
Yeah.
Protecting them. So, but the twist is now, before, if whoever the individual was, if they got in trouble, whatever, the family member wasn't involved with a friend. So is it affecting family? So it affecting, I think we had an idea that employers, we had that state employers. So now it's not just employers, so are you saying it could personally affect a family member or friend if?
Yeah. So it is going to be targeting churches. Churches are always providing assistance to their church members who might not have status. So churches fall under that. You have a cousin that's come, grandmother, your grandson came to visit, grandson doesn't really have status. It impacts you too. And it forces people within our community, because you never know who might have an agenda. That is why I always tell my clients, be careful what information you give out while you're going through the process. Because as I said, the neighbor can call in and say, I think Mary is illegal. They're gonna come because they got the report that you're illegal. They're gonna say, Mary, show me your identification. Show me your passport. Show me that you were inspected coming through the border, your I-94. Well, it's not paper anymore, but they could look up that information. The officers, as I said, are deputized, so they're able to look up your immigration status and see whether you are here legally or not. So it forces people, like, you never know who have an agenda, as I said. So anybody could say, I don't like how you look. You look like you could be illegal. Let me call the cops. So it places everybody in a predicament, because you're looking like, all right, it's my cousin. Obviously, I'm going to invite my cousin here. but then you have to look at it, me or him, which a lot of people is gonna come down to. It's gonna be you, it's not gonna be me. And churches, which it's gonna be hard. So I'm gonna see how that goes. But it's gonna be hard for churches whose duty is to help their members to have to scale back. Then you have organizations that are actually created to help people who are immigrants, like don't have it because they fall under the poverty line. So they need assistance with housing, food, whatever. You have these organizations that have pantries to provide them with food, clothing, but they're gonna be losing funding or they're gonna be penalized. So it's gonna be like a chokehold to everybody if this goes through. So
Yeah.
it's important for people to understand the magnitude of this and to see where it's going. And as I said, it's kind of hard because it's moving along. You could blast your representatives, how important it is to your community, why it matters, why, like, as I said, your vote is your voice for not only you, but for everybody else, your future generation, past generation, for everybody else. Your vote is your voice. So you have to make that effort, make that call, get involved, find out what's happening, be aware. And like this platform is really good in providing this information to the wider community.
Because we know that there are lots of food pantries and those organizations out there, they're not checking for, they're just opening their door. Whoever shows up, show up. So that will definitely be different if people now have to show up with their papers or proof to show that they can. So it's gonna be a huge makeover if it does.
Yeah, it would be a major impact because that's gonna be hard. And then you're gonna have people like really in need that are going to ask for assistance. And then if you don't go to the hospital, one of the major things, because if you're going, you're gonna go to a Dr. Doolittle who don't know anything, that gonna cause complication and death, you know what I mean? And then you go to that person for assistance or this whole bush doctor thing because you're like, I prefer to go to that person, pay my cash, than have to go to the hospital. So, and crime might go up because if I can't go to get assistance, but I'm hungry, what am I gonna do? I have to go find food. So it has a lot, like a ripple effect, because everybody around here is basically an immigrant, maybe not them, their grandmother, their grandfather, their great grandfather, and they are. So it's gonna be the implementation is gonna be a hard one on everyone.
And so what they're gonna do is to threaten the organizations for, not to get funding anymore, I guess. So that's the strategy.
Yeah, so if you don't have funding, how are you gonna survive? And
for the other.
Yeah, and then for the individuals, like if you're threatening that I could go to jail or something's gonna happen, I'm not inviting you into my home. I don't care who you are, so it's not good. Are you gonna be cold towards your grandchild? Are you gonna be cold towards your cousin or your aunt? So I don't like where it's going, but but the law, as I always say, when the law is the law, so it's gonna be hard to go around, like for people to survive.
Do we have any idea what the penalties for individuals would be? Say, any one of us, Auntie Sarah comes and she's not fully properly, and she's living with you right now.
Yeah, I didn't see where they have the full detail of what each individual thing is, but they said it could go up anywhere up to 5 years. So it's, I guess, once it's done, they match the penalties, and we'll see what happens.
So an individual, a regular law-abiding, God-fearing, having basically having, so what about the driving thing? So we know that the person's living with you. So basically, if you're assisting in any way, whether it's housing, transportation, dropping them off at the day or wherever they work. So all of this is considered assistance. Do you know yet?
It's in regards to driving, it's gonna be hard because one of the things is that you have to knowingly be transporting. So how can you, if it's a stranger, as I said, if it's a cab service, how would you knowingly know that person is illegal? But I guess the assumption, if it's your family member, you're more than likely know and you're transporting them. But it's going to be hard to prove unless they change the system for public transportation where you have to provide some form of identification to say, you know, like you are legal, which is kind of overstepping. So it's going to be touching on Vibez issues. But so that's the major thing. You have to show like you knew about it. But that's it's going to be hard. But as an individual, like as I said, if you're inviting somebody into your home, whether you say, well, I didn't know, the assumption is, you know. So I'll answer that question. Did I miss part of the
Yeah,
question?
no, I'm just, and I guess it's not complete. Yeah, we're trying to just in what area, just to get an understanding. Okay, so it's just if the person's living with you, then maybe they're residing at your home. And what about, okay, they're not residing, but you pick Johnny up.
Yeah, so that's an issue. Once they are illegal without legal status, then that's a problem. So if you're stopped and they check Johnny and Johnny doesn't have a status, then yeah, you could be in problem. You'd have to go prove that I did not know Johnny did not have his status.
So they're really, so yeah, you, the individual, the citizen, I see the way the twist is coming where you, so basically they're saying they're here because you're helping them.
Yeah, so you're liable. So
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. So the burden is on both you, the citizen, and the person without status. As I said, it's gonna be you or me situation where most people are gonna say it's gonna be you. So because how many people are gonna risk what they have for somebody else? Because if you've been here, you work so hard. Yes, it's gonna be a me or you situation going forward.
So this new bill will not only affect the newcomers, but everyone else. So right now, Sybil, the bill is just being proposed in Florida.
Yeah, it's a Florida bill going to the Florida. So Florida, as I said earlier, they're trying to set the standard. So they're saying, I'm not sure if I said it earlier. So they're saying if the federal government is not doing anything to fix the problem as we see it right now, Florida is going to show you the government how to fix it. And if this pass is successful, then hopefully other states like Texas will follow suit. And then you have this ripple effect where other states will be like, oh, Florida figured it out. So we could do this in our state. So the state is looking to solve this immigration issue and Florida is leading the charge.
Right. And we know this is a big political time right now. So everybody's showing out with who can do what and do it best and all these things. So in the meantime, we know real people are being affected by the back and forth with the political fight and the show offness that's happening across the US, but especially here in Florida.
Yeah, it's a hot topic, immigration. It is a hot topic. As we see, like every election is one of the hottest topic, immigration. So anybody that could solve it, you got a chance, right? So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
So we do understand, so we do have individuals that are refugees, so they're protected under the refugee status. Okay. So it's really the people that either came in illegally or came in legally but overstayed Well, we hope everybody's listening to this. It's very, very important. This is not in effect until if it passes, which we would probably say the way it looks, that it's going to pass, effective July 1st.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a family discussion, a household discussion, because it could affect so many people, so many ways. And they're not just doing a fine. So now it's not like you're getting $100 fine. You're like, okay, or $500 fine. It's incarceration. It's up to 5 years in prison. And so they're really coming strong for this. So
They are, and
yeah.
this is why it's important. I'm not a political activist, but it's why important that people go out and vote on issues that directly impact our community. As we see this directly impact our families, especially those who have migrated here. And so we have our representatives. We have to have representatives that are going forward to represent us and be our voice. Because as we see, as I said earlier, 15 voted for, 3 voted against going through, and it is moving through. We haven't seen much of an uproar about it. It's going. But people need to be more vocal, have their voices heard. And even now, like you could have your voices heard to see how this will impact our community. And remember, if you're able to vote local elections too. They are important in regards to education department, the Board of Education, like these things that are we're teaching our children, like all these policies, the sheriff, like you have to go out and vote if you vote if you're a citizen. So if you're a citizen, vote. You can't vote if you're not a citizen. But if you do think you might qualify to be a citizen, definitely go out, apply to be a citizen so you could speak up. Because even if now this pass in the future, you never know what could happen, repeal it, whatever. But you have to be more vocal, people have to be more vocal, they have to be more involved in their community and know what's going on, especially with the issues that directly impact us.
Yes, but it's strange, like this particular bill just came out of the blue, right? So
Yeah, that was quick. March, like a couple weeks ago, March 7th, it was introduced and it's going.
and sometimes you can't predict what that representative that you voted for, well, they're gonna just turn around and just go so extreme, because this is really an extreme. We haven't seen it.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like we might say it's an extreme, but we're not the only individuals within Florida. So might be it is a hot topic for his constituents that he's
Right.
representing, and that's what they want.
Right.
So he's being their voice. They voted him there and he's working for them.
Right.
So that's the thing. We have to put people in that will be our voice. Because that's an issue for a lot of people. Like it's impacting us, but for a lot of people, they're having an issue with it. But it will have an impact commercially with Florida, because as we know, most of the industries, as I said earlier, like agriculture and certain fast food industries, they rely on these individuals to work. So we'll see how that works out for them, because maybe if it hits the pocket, then it might be an issue. But we have to really be more involved and engaged in the process.
How does someone, how do you check? So now you have to check. So now we have a duty to check people's status.
That would be hard, because if I come to your house and you're like, Michelle, give me your passport. I need to go look. I'll be like, no, I'm not. Who are you? So it's
Right.
gonna be hard. And if you ask somebody, they could say, yeah, I'm good. I'm
Mhm.
good. You don't know if they are good. So it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. Because jobs, like an employer has a duty to do that check. So you have to provide that information to an employer where they run the check to be e-verified on the USCIS.gov website to ensure that you could legally work in the United States. So that covers employers. But as an individual, what can I do? I can collect your documents, your passport. I'm not the border patrol, you know, but people are gonna have to do extreme things.
Yeah, I would like to see, yeah, definitely further how the individuals or even organizations are expected, not employers, but those people to check people ID. It's not like you can go, like in Florida, you can check my license, your license, right? You can just go on there, type your name and see if you have a license. But so there is no existing site right now. You can just put in James Smith and pop up and see, yep, unless maybe I guess you'd have to ask for the driver's license to see if the check mark is on there
Yeah, so usually you see, like, I'm not sure if you have your license, like you see a little star.
to start.
Yeah, it tells like, all right, the status of that first. Because usually your driver's license will go based on the expiration date of your status. So if you have a 2-year conditional green card, it usually goes onto that, the date of the 2-year. So you'll have to renew it. If it's a 1-year work authorization, they'll have it to that 1 year. If you do get. So it does tell you on the driver's license. But if I don't have a driver's license, if I say I've never driven, I'm from New York, I don't drive. You can't have an ID. I can't trust a New York ID, as I said, because they're saying that other state driver's license are not valid in Florida. So they can't show you their New York driver's license because you're saying, more than likely, I've never seen the New York driver's license, but I don't think they notate. Maybe it's a special driver's license, but you can't use that. So it will have to be checking your passport, your visa, when your visa expire, and your I-94. So it's like you're doing a border patrol, like when you come to the airport and they check everything to make sure you're good. You're gonna be doing that for everybody to see if they're good. Or you have to be like, all right, you can't come visit me. I'm in Florida, I'll come visit you. Because then you have
Right.
to stay away from Florida. So all these people who are coming here, like they want to go to Disney and all these things, go to the beach, they have to rethink what they're doing. Do I come to Florida or do I go to another state that is more welcoming to me as a migrant without any legal status? So that's gonna be the challenge. So people would have to go meet their family member.
I would have. And especially if they're saying, well, I mean, if someone is living in, for example, New York, and they have a New York ID and they take the train, or I mean, they're using their ID to come here. So I guess they can always say, hey, I'm on vacation, right? And that's why I have a New York or California driver's license.
Yeah, but that's what they're saying, it's not valid. So they don't care if you're here on vacation. It's just not valid here. So if they stop you, you don't have a valid driver's license here. So you have to be mindful of that. So it's just where people have to think about what they're doing. Like how when you have to travel to some countries, you have to check if you have the right visa and the right requirement. Like Florida might be like a state, like it's going to another country.
Right.
Florida, you have to make sure you're in the right position legally to come into Florida. Like by the time you enter Florida, you have to make sure. How you never know, as I said, officers are deputized. You never know what could happen. So you have to be cautious and decide if it's a risk that you're going to take.
So
Because the main thing is, as I said, like coming through with the train, the main thing is to curb people without status from coming into Florida. So that's the point of creating this bill. So people will not come here if they don't have legal status.
So family, husband and wife comes in from California. Obviously, they rent a car here. So that part is okay.
But it's gonna be hard if they don't have legal status because the rental company is gonna have an issue because they can't rent to somebody without legal status or meeting the requirements for Florida. And if they have
How
a
will they
business in
know?
Florida, because they would have to run your status too then. 'Cause if it's gonna pass, if you're saying it's illegal to have another driver's license, it means, like with
Right.
car rental, like even if a credit card, they said, I'm not taking American Express, they're not gonna take it. So if that's the rule, they're gonna say, I can't take it. You're gonna have to have another valid driver's license from another state if you want to rent a car here. They're gonna do their checks. So that's like everybody is gonna be like acting as immigration officers or
Right.
officers checking people's status and being, which is not good. Because another
Word.
burden on people because you're gonna have to be double checking everything. If you have your restaurant, people coming in to eat, do you check what you're doing, what status? You have a hotel, do you have to check what, like all these status, all these other check marks, additional information? You have somebody coming to clean your home. Do you have to check now, do you have status to come into my home to clean? So all this additional work on citizens is not good.
I
But
have a
people gonna have to
question,
do,
Fanger.
if it goes into effect, people gonna have to do what they have to.
I have a comment, like a quick comment.
Okay,
Okay, so this is going to adversely, negatively affect the economy. So I know
yes,
it's not, I mean, we really do have to speak up. And I know they're talking about sanctuary, people who are providing sanctuary to illegal immigrants and so on. So I think that's another attack at the church because that's one of the
yeah,
places that people really go to get sanctuary, to get, help, to get whatever they need. So
yeah.
those people cannot, like you say, speak up for themselves. So what are we going to do about it? How can we step forward and say something? I'm sorry, I'm not on screen, I'm driving, but how
Oh,
can
that's
we,
fine. That's fine,
how
but
can, yeah, how can we do something about that? Because the bill is moving on so quickly. Like, what do we do? This is going to affect all of our family members.
yeah, that is true. Like, so the representatives, local representatives, you have to bombard them, bombard them with this, calling, sending letters, calling, bombarding. I'm surprised I don't see any major organization like churches, interest groups going up there to Tallahassee. But you have to be the voice, like you just have to organize and speak up about it if it's going to impact them.
But my thing also is, if we had not received this information from Donna, it's like almost a silent attack because you don't really hear about it on the news. I mean, has it been out there on the news like that? We don't really hear anything about it. So if we had not gotten information like in-house from Donna and to get you to come out and speak about it, like so many people would still not hear about it and it's happening so fast. So what do we do?
Yeah, it is moving fast. Yeah, a lot of people, I guess, I don't know how to even answer that because that's a major topic, especially for immigration. I'm thinking, were we distracted with other things? Why nobody, brought it to the forefront? Because that's my thing too. Like a lot of organizations are not doing more because I know people are very active in the community, especially with immigration attorneys. They are very active. Like when these things happen, they're actively going out. They're trying to change the laws. They're trying to do things. So between the proposal going through the committees, I don't know how it went under the radar. I see where in a few news media, like small clippings, you see it being mentioned, but not a lot. But people have to go talk to their representatives and let their voices be heard. That's what you have to do.
Thank you, Sybil, for that question. I think, Martina, you have a question?
Yes, good evening, everybody. I wanted to ask, for the persons who've been in Florida for over 15, 20 years, a long time, is there any consideration that will be given to them in terms of immigration law and whatnot? And would that also impact persons coming in I assume, I'm just thinking that they would probably limit the time that they give you to stay in Florida, if they want to crack down on these illegal immigrants. That's really going to be it's really going to impact negatively on a lot of families. And it means that they will be embarking on like sending persons back to their different islands and the different countries, because that's really not a good thing coming out of from Florida right now, because Florida, the population of Florida, I mean, in terms of the Caribbean, you have so many Caribbean people in Florida in particular. So that is really a negative thing for us Caribbean people.
Yeah, that's 100% true that it is. But in regards to the first part of your question, in regards to any thing that they're doing for individuals who have been here for over 15 years, based on my understanding, no. It's across the board if you don't have any status, if you're overstayed. So it's across the board, this law is being implemented. They don't have any exemptions for individuals who have been here like over 15 or 10 or 15 years. So that's the thing. In regards to individuals coming here and limiting their time for Florida, that's a federal thing. So Florida cannot tell the federal government what to do. So when you're coming in, they will give you the amount of time you could stay, whether it's 6 months, 2 weeks. It's just the Custom and Border Patrol, they run their thing. Florida cannot tell them what to do. So, but the only thing Florida can do is like if you overstay, they will, use this law against you. But they can go to the federal government and say, all right, tell me if how long John is supposed to stay in the US, how long Mary is supposed to stay. They can't do that. So it's about you, if you overstay being caught, or as I said, if somebody decide like, I don't like you, John, I'm gonna tell them that you overstayed. Then that's the problem. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. I also wanted to, well, it's not a question, it's more of a statement. But I'm saying, didn't Biden pass a bill for undocumented persons in the States for over how long? I don't know if it's just from Mexico, but there wasn't this discussion with Biden when he came in that they will be processing undocumented immigrants.
Okay, I think what you're talking about is the pathway to citizenship. Is that what you're talking about? Where if you're here without status for a bit of time, you pay a tax, then
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, it has gotten nowhere, to be honest. It was just a proposal of something that he wanted to do, this pathway. It has got no headway because I guess it's not a priority. The immigration issue is not a priority. So again, it's having a representative understanding that it's important, the community, and we need it to be done. But he's been there, nothing has been done in regards to that pathway. So yeah, nothing has been done. If there was such a thing in place, Florida cannot surpass what the federal government has in place for immigrants. So that makes sense? So Florida is just doing what they can within their realm as a state.
I understand. I suppose then the pressure has to be put on Biden more than just the Florida state,
Yeah.
the Florida government, because if Joe Biden came in and he came in as part of his campaign strategies, some of what he came in, he was campaigning for in terms of undocumented persons. So I suppose across the board in not just Florida, but the wider states like New York
Yeah.
and these other states, they need to push that. So Florida cannot come in and override that, because there's so many Caribbean people undocumented have been there, not without status in all these different states. They need to come out and really put some pressure, especially if they pay their taxes.
Yeah, but to be fair to Biden, is who he is up against. Because as I said, remember, he can be the president, he could say whatever he wants to do, but he has to have the support, the Senate or the House of Representatives, and he doesn't have the backing. So that again comes down to voting. When we vote for our representatives at our state level, we vote for people who will push the agendas that directly impact, because he could talk all he wants about what he's doing, but if he doesn't get the support for it to pass, it will get nowhere. So that is why we have to be mindful of who we put forward to represent us there, if that makes sense to you.
In our individual, because sometimes
Yeah.
the individual states don't matter. Everybody just wait
Yeah.
big presidency, and we're seeing right now that, especially as individual states are jumping on being individual, you know, with their own laws and bills.
Agenda.
So yeah, I guess all we can do at this point is reach out and call and you know, because there's a lot of this, especially Florida. It's a big immigrant states, and whether even those that are legally here, you know, so it's going to impact us, all of us, on a lot of levels. So all we can do at this point now is write, protest, make our voice known that, okay, we see that this was just secretly, you know, a secret maneuver, and we're not happy with this. So we have to do that's how we do something, because it's already in the process, and get more, you know, whether it's TV stations, etc. The conversation needs to be definitely more public, because this was like a secret. This is a that's being passed that just nobody knew about. So do we have any last questions, Dr. Bevan? Are you not sure if you're able to
I'm just hearing a lot of talk and a lot of conversation around the e-driver's license that they're gonna have us get. So everything will be going through that driver's license. Everyone has to acquire that, and that is the way where the checkpoints and everything will be taking place. So that is just so.
Yeah, that is true. Like they have the standard one that you have to use now, and when people travel, they have to use that one. So
Yes.
like all the states have to get compliant with that. So that's the thing. I don't even know how the other states, like New York, providing these driver's license. I don't know if they're compliant with the federal requirement. So I'm not even sure about that.
Eventually they're gonna be all eventually, because if you have to check mine and I don't live in that particular state, how are you gonna do so? Then you might be requiring your state to do it, because you have to get the machines and the standards in order to check me. So
and I think with the airlines,
are you just gonna purchase it to check outsiders, or you might just invest in it for your own state? So it's like, you know, monkey see, monkey do eventually, you know.
That is true. That is true, because so all the airlines are federal, so they have to check the requirements, make sure they meet the federal requirements. So everybody should have updated their driver's license now. If you don't have a valid one, that might be an issue where it's not valid to travel, and you'll have to use like another form of identification, like a valid passport.
Or just go ahead and get that chip in your eye.
All right. All right, everyone.
For frequent travelers.
Yeah.
We are at the end of our forum. Great topic. Again, you know, it's a family conversation with your loved ones and extended family. Don't just ignore it. Keep up with the changes, how this bill is, you know, it's moving fast, silently, for a reason. But all we can do at this point is write email, right? Write and email our or electives. And if it does pass, well, then you know that we're gonna have to read whatever the laws are and make use of it and make the adjustments. And you know, people are going to, so Michelle, Attorney Fanger, please tell us where, if individuals have questions and so forth, they can reach you.
Okay, can I share my screen again real quickly?
Yes.
Okay, so if you want to get a hold of me, how do I do this? If you want to get a hold of me, you could definitely reach out to me. I'm on social media at the Fanger Law Firm. It's on social media, or you could send me an email at michelle@fangerlawfirm.com, or you could give me a call at 904-480-6612. And just put a headline of why you're calling so I know. And I'll definitely return your call. If I don't have the answer, I definitely look into getting the answer for you. And I just want to say thank you all. And it was truly a pleasure being here on this platform. And thank you for the invitation, Ms. Donna. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so very much. So everyone will leave that screen up as we end. So anyone having questions and so forth, this is going to be a time, you know, we don't like changes in the first place, but this is a big change, and it can impact us on a lot of levels, financially, you know, criminally, all these different levels. Fighting now or arguing with family members, say, hey, you can't do this, we're not going to be, but you know, so before we get ahead of ourselves though, let's see how it rolls out, what they propose,
Yeah,
and what we can do,
that's true.
and you know, keep the
Yeah, and and just to add to that, it's important to know that nothing is in place right now.
right.
So nothing is in place right now. So just keep eyes and ears open to see what happened. Maybe a miracle happened and they just do away with it. So just keep your eyes and ears open.
Or it just, instead of being criminally, people just maybe get a fine or something like that. So, you know, prayers up. Let's keep the prayers up that the hearts are changed. Because, you know, with prayer, everything is still possible. So that even though they go forward with the bill, that certain aspect of it will be lessened, the fines against regular law-abiding citizens. All right. So, and along with emailing, calling our elected officials.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us again on Caribbean Diaspora Vibes. God bless you. And until next time, you know, keep the positive vibes high.
Okay. Bye.
Next week.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
No, I'm trying, but I have to do. Look, the sheet is really hard.